Well, let me officially welcome everyone to this is our fifth meeting of the year, our fifth all hands meeting of the year. Time flies when you're having a good time. And so I hope everyone's doing well. Those of you who are in lockdown or in semi-lockdown still, we feel for you and pray for your sanity. This too shall pass. So I thought we'd start off, Zach, why don't we start off with a brief look at some of the developments on FX. I know everyone's really interested in where we are on the EVM and its integration into mainnet, and maybe also a word or two on the EIP 1559.
Sure. Thank you, David. So I think I will give a brief rundown of the tech progress. Right on top of our minds is actually EVM. So actually EVM has moved from the DevNet to the testnet, which means that some of you that are running the validators have done an upgrade on the testnet validators. And with that, EVM is now officially in testnet. So the significance of EVM, as all of you know, is that smart contract will be able to run on our chain. So that includes a 0-hex address, which means a direct support for MetaMask. So I think that really opens up a lot of possibility, DeFi, NFT, etc. And I see some of you smiling. Some of you are planning to deploy some dApps on top of it. So EVM has officially gone into testnet. So I think we will let it sink in for a couple of weeks, hopefully, around a month, so that we are sure of the situation. So far, there isn't any issues, and if we can go through another, say, 3 to 5 weeks of good health, then we would then move it onto mainnet. And along this upgrade, there is one that is pretty significant, which David, you mentioned, which is the EIP 1559. So the idea of EIP 1559 is actually to reduce the gas fee from 4,000 to 5,000 Gwei. So I think mathematically we are looking at 8 times cheaper if you do a simple divide. So I think that really will lower down what is already a very, very cheap transaction fees. And of course, for those of you that are following very closely our development, something that we have not really marketed, which is actually the subnet, right? So the first subnet is actually PundiX chain. So our PundiX chain is actually the first subnet, and the second subnet will be MarginX. For those of you that look into the code, you know that the difference between the subnet and the mainnet is not humongously different, but I think the key point is that each blockchain, each subnet will be able to dedicate its own rules and also transaction capability in that area. So that is also a big breakthrough. I mean, if you compare to like other chains, Avalanche is only recently pushing their subnet. So I think we are very, very competitive in that sense. In fact, if you look at PundiX chain, our subnet actually went live way before theirs. So I think that is also something that we will unleash. Not much has been talked about that, but I think everyone in this call are aware of that. So EIP 1559 will significantly lower the fees, and also subnet will also kind of like allocate different rules and make sure that in a highly transacted, say, MarginX, whereby you need high-speed transaction to long or short your Teslas, that would also be a very dedicated environment. So that is also something that we hope for the third subnet, we can work with someone outside of the whole FunctionX and PundiX ecosystem, so that we build something with the other guys outside. And the last update is on Fxdex. So I think one thing that we need to highlight is that MarginX is a perpetual based synthetic token exchange. So for lack of better example, I think DYDX is a very close comparison. In fact, I think in some extent it is actually more advanced than DYDX. So I think we leave that for the MarginX talk in itself. So Fxdex is actually different from MarginX in the sense that Fxdex is our Uniswap. So it's our pancake swap. So Fxdex will likely come out either along EVM in mainnet or shortly after. So I think these are like the 3 to 4 things that the whole tech team is spending a lot of time on. So I think back to you, David. Yeah.
Do we have any sense of the timing of that? I know no one likes to ever get pinned down this way. And especially because, you know, our tech team, I think, are quite perfectionists, that they don't want to go out with something until they're, you know, like 100% certain about it. But do we have some sense of the timeline for that?
Sure, David. So I think everything hinges on EVM going into mainnet. So by going into mainnet, that means going into governance proposal 21 days. And once the governance proposal passes after 21 days, then all the things that we talk about, like EVM, EIP 1559, and also EVM support for FXX will just like, you know, the floodgate will just open. So I think a reasonable estimation is 3 to 5 weeks of observation on testnet, and then we go on to governance proposal 21 days, and which right after governance proposal, we are looking at a couple of days that all the things that I've said will likely go live. Yeah.
So we're looking like maybe late summer. We feel pretty comfortable about that. Again, no one's pinning down, you know, I'm always the one who's always going like, don't commit to a date. And we're not committing, just so people have a kind of a sense of things.
Yes, correct, David. So we are not committing. And I think the nice thing about this this process is that not only is the internal team involved, some of the guys that are in the call are also involved, because like, for example, testnet, we actually had validator updates and someone has actually written an API you know, to expose some functions as well. So I think in that sense, our estimation is actually being kind of like going alongside some of the guys that are working with us externally and even the community. So I think in that way, we have a better grasp of like the timeline. Yeah.
Okay, that was non-committal. Very well done.
Non-committal, yes.
Very well done. Okay, just a little brief update on Fxdm. So we have our second batch of FXneers. 4 of us continued, so I'm part of it. Judy and Andreas, whom I want to thank up front, because without Judy and Andreas, this wouldn't be here. They do all of the prep work. They're the back end tech people. They're why you can hear me and see me. So I want to thank them, and really glad that they're continuing with us. Claudio, also from the first batch, is staying with us. And we have some new additional members. Crypto Knight Rider is with us. Jan, I think he pronounces it, and Loyal, who's from Fox Gaming. And so we're currently going through the submissions, and I have to say that they've, you know, over the time that we've been doing this, the creative offerings from our community have really scaled up in quality, and so it's been a really fun thing to do. Angela, are you with us still?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I thought it would be interesting. I mean, particularly given what the market is, for us to understand sort of the value of Kronos and a market maker in general, I thought maybe you could give us a little update on Kronos and their relationship with us.
Yes, of course. Let me just share the screen.
We see it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's our pleasure, me and Neil, to join the all hands meeting tonight. So I think I will be sharing the updates briefly on the market making first, and then we can go into the Q&A session if anyone has any questions afterwards. We first started the service on March 13th. And then currently we are market making on Coinbase, KuCoin, and Huobi. And then we will be ready to onboard Upbit Indonesia around next week. So this is the data report we generated for March and April. As you can see, within this period, we traded a total of 5.6 million, with roughly 28% market share on Coinbase, 1.4 million with 16% market share on KuCoin, and 945,000 with 22% on Huobi. And the total market, sorry, let me just probably, yeah, okay. And the total market volume in March also had a very good growth on Coinbase and KuCoin, which we can see it's increased by 283% on Coinbase and 200% on KuCoin. And going into April, our market share has doubled on Coinbase and tripled on KuCoin. But the total market volumes slightly decreased by like around 50% on both venue. We think potentially it's due to the new listing on Huobi. Since you can see here, the market growth on Huobi has reached almost like 600%. So yeah, this is the brief summary about the last 2 months market making performance. And one thing I wanted to highlight here as well is that we are sharing the monthly report to the Function X forum on the 10th of each month. So like anyone can go there to check on the progress if they're interested.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that update. Is there anyone online right now who has any questions for Angela, as long as we have her right here? I don't see any hands going up.
I actually have a question. Maybe I can ask a question. Angela, I was wondering, what is the reason there is a uptime difference between different exchanges? I'm guessing because the bots that are deployed are similar from Kronos, so the uptime should be like very closely similar. So what is the reason why one exchange can be different from another? Is it because of the APIs or yeah?
Yeah, sure. So generally the uptime is the parameter, it's the metric that to to evaluate the market the time the market maker is quoting to the market. So the market making strategy essentially is similar, which is a market neutral. But due to the every markets are different because the users on each exchanges, they might have a different trading habits. So that's the reason why sometimes we will, adjust based on the markets. So it's not like always we will, quoting all the time on each venues. We will, adjust accordingly if we pick up, one venue has a, start to have large orders coming in, then we will, go into that venues and then start to put more liquidity on there to ensure the orders go through.
And
Yeah,
I have
just want to add some point there. If you can check the chart, the weekly uptime chart, the uptime on Coinbase and Huobi are kind of similar, like above 90%. And on KuCoin is very different. I think it's mainly because we are trading different pairs. I mean, we trade like FX to USD on Coinbase and FX to USDT on Huobi, but we only trade FX to BTC on KuCoin, right? So yeah, so the base market, the liquidity is not different. It's very different. So yeah, that's the main reason.
Can you give me an idea of what our situation would be if you were not doing the market making right now? In other words, if we were to take Kronos out of the picture for the past 3 months, what would be the difference?
I would say if you can check the CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, you can see the depths there are always be like more than 1,000 depths on Coinbase book. If we don't do, if you stop the market making, then it will go back to go back to the origin point, like only like 70,000 depths, something like that. And also in May, in this month, the market is very volatile, right? So we also did hard work to keep the liquidity when the market is very very volatile. Yeah, so I think that's the contribution a market maker can do to a project. Yeah.
Okay, do we have any more questions for Neil or Angela? Okay, well, I think we can open it up. I have nothing more to add at this point. Zach, do you?
I think yeah, go ahead, Neil. Yeah, I think he has something to say.
Yeah, just anytime if you have any questions, can raise on the forum, then we will answer it very soon. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I think some of us might be asking some questions in the Q&A. That's when usually the question starts flowing in. Yeah.
Well, we can go to the Q&A right now. Should we do some of the questions that we've already received? So French X Core asked, oh, right. So French X Core, since we're dividing the EVM gas fee by 8, does that apply to FX Core gas fee as well? Zach?
I can take this. I believe the answer is correct. Yeah, so it will be applicable to both the EVM and also FX Core. Yeah, correct.
Okay. French X Core also asked, can we add a new coding category to Fxdm? So I understand the question, and nobody I think appreciates the creativity behind coding as much as I do. That being said, what we focused on for Fxdm are really the visuals, those things that people can can put out into into social media. But I do think that there should be some kind of recognition when people are doing, coding contributions. It does require, I mean, after all, I'm not in a position to judge the quality or the value of that kind of coding. So we would need to have a developer being the judge. But I think, Zach, you had an idea also, sort of looking kind of at quantity. And when the coding gets to be more significant, then it can move into more of the ecosystem fund.
Yeah, I think David, I agree with you. Fxdm probably is best for marketing. I think the best way is still to apply through the governance proposal. That is the best way. But of course, if there's a lot of support, we can also do a bug bounty program. So a bug bounty program would also include a feature bounty. So say someone drops a nice API feature that that is hacked over the weekend. So maybe a couple, like a small amount of FX reward, those that the person doesn't want to go through the hassle of applying through the governance proposal. So I think we can drop some nice rewards to that person. So I think that is also one way. And I think, David, speaking of that, we know that Foxcoin is preparing to apply for the governance proposal. He's waiting for the EVM to come out. I think maybe now is a good time to apply if he's ready, because EVM is going to come out pretty soon. Yeah.
Okay, is he online? Is Loyal online? We'll let him know.
Yeah.
So this would be a good time. So I think that's also a good indication that we're being optimistic without being committal in terms of EVM's integration onto mainnet. So that's a good sign. Could the team add some interconnected points within FX Wallet app for external applications? For example, to sign transactions using Wallet Connect.
I think technically Wallet Connect should work on the code level, but whether FX Wallet wants to sign all dApps, I don't think we want to sign every kind of dApp, but the dApps that are whitelisted in the ecosystem. So like say it should be able to sign margin X, it should sign FXDEX, maybe it should also be able to sign the Foxcoin's NFT marketplace, assuming he launches that. So I think it should sign dApps that we recognize this. I think that is pretty important. At least in the beginning, we should slowly open up the signing ability. So that's my take. Yeah.
Okay. Someone's asked about, I think they meant about Margin X and any issues that it might face with regard to the US SEC. And these are open. This is something that is so much in flux at the moment in terms of these kinds of questions. And I think Margin X is a different kind of animal that the SEC really hasn't looked at yet in detail. But we're seeing, regulators in every jurisdiction that we're dealing with. Most of them are taking a wait and see attitude. There are a lot of them who are being more aggressive. The EU at this point is looking critically at these things. So I think I think one of the things is that there had been, I think, an assumption beforehand that the crypto world would operate kind of independently from the regular exchanges, from the traditional finance. And as we're seeing right now, that's not the case. Just as the traditional stock market is taking a hit right now, so are cryptocurrencies. So, you know, this is again one of those considerations that regulatory bodies, whether it's the SEC or the Commodities Exchange in the US and other jurisdictions, again, it's just something that we're watching very closely. I think it's difficult and maybe ill-advised to be aggressive on these things in terms of, you know, better off to wait until somebody knocks and asks a question before we proceed to ask that question. For Kronos, the order book on KuCoin is low in volume sometimes. This person experienced it last week. Is there any reason behind it? Is this will be a slight problem for the trader?
Yeah, we noted this issue. It's because, you know, just like I mentioned, the market recently is not very stable. So sometimes, you know, we can make sure the uptime as high as you know, the stable market. Yeah, but we know this, and we are optimizing our algo and to, you know, to keep the order book stable. Yeah.
Okay, understandable. Another question: any chance FX Core could be baselined on Cosmos version 0.43.0? Currently, testnet version is based on 0.42.11. I would love to see the authorization or the auth-z module implemented. Zach?
Sure. So actually right now, as the asker rightly pointed out, we are actually running on based on 0.42 Cosmos SDK modification, and we have integrate partially some of the code of 0.45 into the system. So I think that the question was, will we integrate 0.43 with the auth-z module? I think the short answer is why not? I don't see why we won't do that. I don't see any specific reason why that won't happen. So I guess the short answer is yes, it will happen. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Next question from Scene. Since we're adopting the EIP 1559 fee rule, does that mean that part of FX transaction fees will get burned through fee burning and thus reducing total supply? Will FX become a deflationary coin at some point in the future?
I think systematically we have not designed FX to be a deflationary system. Of course, it can be deflationary if we redesign it, or it can also happen, right? I mean, the supply can reduce if it's burned, but FX itself isn't designed from the ground to be deflationary. And as you know, the inflationary system would also take over a decade to happen. The initial design was actually 16 years. So we are looking at a long time frame. And in regards to EIP 1559, which is reducing the gas fees, the initial idea is to pass the reduction to a transaction, which means that user will actually see the benefit of the funds being cheaper. But of course, the funds can also move to the validator or also being burned. But right now, the design is actually to pass on the savings to the people using the network. Yeah.
Okay. Then there's a question, who were you thinking about, Zach, when you mentioned potential L2 number 3?
Interestingly, David, someone in this call actually came forward today and suggested a very interesting project to bring onto our layer 2. So I don't think we have any answers yet to share. But I think if we can get a outside party to get involved, that would be very exciting. Yeah.
Great. We look forward to that.
Mm.
So I know it's kind of a short session, but are there any more questions from the audience?
Mm. Mm.
No?
Yeah.
Well, yep. Do you have any last words, Zach?
No, I was just saying we always say that we wanted to like shorten the sessions, not let it overspill. So I guess in this session we managed to do it.
Right. Well, I think the market makes people a little bit kind of less enthusiastic maybe for a while.
Mm.
Okay, well, with that then, good night or have a good day wherever you are, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you. Thanks, David. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.